Hi, I'm Ben Spicer reporting for DeepishThoughts.com. Over the next few months, Deepish Thoughts will be taking a look at some of the top prospects in the 2016 NFL Draft. First up, we'll be covering the top quarterbacks in the draft in this video. Without a doubt, quarterback is a position that everyone is interested in come draft day. The general consensus is that the top quarterbacks in this year's NFL Draft are Paxton Lynch, Memphis, Jared Goff, California, Connor Cook, Michigan State, and Carson Wentz, North Dakota State. I want to start with Memphis's Paxton Lynch, who burst onto the scene earlier this season when his Memphis Tigers upset the Ole Miss Rebels at home. He had a great game against the Rebels, and it was sort of assumed that he would do the same in the Birmingham Bowl against Auburn. However, he really underperformed, and I think that is worth analyzing. The biggest knock on Lynch's game is the fact that he is a system quarterback. Many analysts have said that they worry about Lynch's ability to make NFL throws. We can see on tape and in highlights that Lynch has a cannon for an arm, but he doesn't make a lot of intermediate throws that will be necessary at the next level. Most of Memphis's offense was designed around getting receivers in space, which we saw throughout the Birmingham Bowl. In my opinion, Lynch needs to work on his consistency. We can see from the highlights that Lynch made a lot of poor and inaccurate throws. Ball placement is of utmost importance in the NFL and was something that Lynch had issues with against Auburn. His receivers had some issues with dropped balls, but for the most part, Lynch seemed to be out of rhythm passing in this game. He seemed to have issues with his progression as well, due in part to Auburn blitzing, but he struggled to make the correct reads. Here we see in this play Lynch missing a wide open receiver over the middle of the field to force a throw to a receiver that was well covered on the sideline. His biggest mistake in the game was throwing a crucial red zone interception with the game tied in the third quarter. He has his receiver on an inside slant, but because the ball is off just a tiny bit, the defender has the opportunity to deflect it into the air, resulting in an interception. Lynch has to realize that his throwing lanes will be much smaller than this in the NFL. Although Lynch did have his fair share of struggles, we caught a glimpse of what makes his future seem promising in the league. He showcased his rocket of an arm on several throws, as well as his ability to throw the ball on the run. Playing against Auburn was a great test for Lynch, and although he underperformed, we can still see why many scouts are projecting him to be the first quarterback selected. While Lynch struggled to get anything going down the field in his bowl game, Jared Goff of California had a field day in the Armed Forces Bowl against Air Force. One of Goff's greatest attributes is his ability to throw the ball down the field. While this is a tremendous skill set to have, it can be challenging to throw the ball downfield with consistency. We saw Goff have problems at times in this game with the touch on his deep pass, which is something the scouts have raised in terms of a red flag for him. However, when he is on his game, he is an elite quarterback in terms of throwing the deep ball. We saw his inaccuracies at times against Air Force in this bowl game, but we also saw Goff shine. He completed several deep passes, and I was most impressed with his reluctance to gamble with the deep pass. It seemed as though he was only willing to throw that deep pass when his receivers had one-on-one coverage. I think this is a great compliment of his play recognition and his ability to see and read defenses. Another area where Goff excelled in this bowl game was with the play-action pass. An important part of a quarterback's repertoire is the ability to sell the play fake and be successful with the play-action game. We saw Goff throw for several touchdowns in the red zone from a play-action look, and I think this is something that NFL scouts will love to see in his game. Goff also looked good against the constant pressure that Air Force brought. The Falcons were known for being aggressive on defense and blitzing constantly. This certainly played into Goff's hands, as he has been one of the best quarterbacks in college football throwing against the blitz. He will need to realize that the blitz will be much faster in the NFL, but has shown some promise so far in that regard. I think Goff will have to work on his timing in terms of reading the blitz in the NFL. He won't be able to afford to take a lot of hits at the next level, as he isn't exactly the biggest quarterback in the draft. Although he has been taking hits all throughout his college career, he needs to be able to avoid constantly getting hit in the NFL in order to maintain his health and consistency. Next, I want to take a look at Connor Cook, who had all sorts of problems going up against Alabama. Then again, who hasn't this season? In particular, Cook struggled with his intermediate and deep passes, which is certainly something he will need to fix in the coming months. Granted, his receivers were not really bailing him out in this game. There were several big drops that were costly and kept Cook from establishing a rhythm. He also had some problems with constant pressure from a very stingy Alabama defense that had him running for his life at times. Cook isn't exactly the most mobile of quarterbacks, so this is definitely an issue. I want to highlight a key moment in this game that was pivotal for Connor Cook and the Michigan State Spartans. He led Michigan State down the field late in the first half in hopes of scoring some much-needed points before halftime. As he approached the red zone, he made a risky completion in one-on-one coverage. This must have raised his confidence because the very next play he threw an interception in what appears to be the exact same play. As you can see, Cook stares down his receiver the entire duration of the play. This makes it incredibly easy for the defensive back to make a play on the ball. This turnover proved to be costly as it was ultimately Michigan State's best chance to score in the game. Scoring that touchdown, or even getting a field goal for that matter, could have drastically changed the way that Alabama approached the second half. Cook cannot afford to make these types of mistakes in the NFL, especially in the red zone. Last up is Carson Wentz of North Dakota State. Like Paxton Lynch, Wentz was a bit of an unknown throughout the season. He sustained a wrist injury mid-year that sidelined him for the second half of the year, but came back strong in North Dakota State's 5th straight FCS Championship victory. That's right, I said 5th straight. If there is anything Wentz has learned about football in college, it is being a part of a winning program. After his MVP performance in the team's victory over Jacksonville State, he began to soar atop many mock drafts, and rightfully so. First and foremost, the thing that separates Wentz from the previous 3 quarterbacks I've discussed is his mobility and ability to run. While Paxton Lynch can make throws on the run and expand the pocket, you won't see him running the football like Wentz does. Wentz is capable of running the ball from the quarterback position, which adds a complete other dimension to his game that the other guys don't have. Another area that helps raise Wentz's draft stock is the system that he played in North Dakota State. The Bison ran an offense under Wentz that is very similar to an NFL type of offense. We see Wentz make several throws in this FCS Championship game that are of NFL caliber. I mentioned ball placement throughout the video, and Wentz is on target for the majority of the game. He made several crucial throws on 3rd down and medium to sustain drives and put the ball where only his receivers had a chance to make a play. While Wentz has seen his stock rise quickly over the past couple of months, he still has some areas to improve on moving forward. His consistency can be an issue as at times he misses some passes that should be completed. In this game, we see him misfire on some throws in the red zone where the window of opportunity is small. Again, ball placement comes into play as the accuracy on a couple throws was just off a bit, which resulted in some missed chances. Red zone efficiency is incredibly important at the next level. Although Wentz finished with 2 interceptions, I think only one was truly his fault in this game. The deep pass towards the end of the first half was a great play on the ball by the Jacksonville State defensive back and was a risk worth taking considering the lead that the Bison had at the time. However, the second interception was a throw that Wentz should not have made. We saw Wentz complete several passes in tight coverage, but here he throws into double coverage to a receiver that was well covered. These types of mistakes simply could not happen in the NFL. Of the quarterbacks mentioned in this video, I think that Jared Goff showed the most promise in his bowl game. Carson Wentz was a close second, and right now I would say that the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft class are Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. I hope you enjoyed my analysis of some of the top quarterbacks in the NFL draft this upcoming year. Be sure to check out Deepish Thoughts and stay tuned for more NFL draft videos and coverage.